Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome, welcome, welcome. We are so pleased that you have found us here on Crime Time on A Mighty Blaze. It is Tuesday. It is 4 p.m. ET, and we are so thrilled that you are here. I'm your host, Hank Phillippi Ryan, the USA Today bestselling author of 16 going on 17 novels of suspense. My current novel is One Wrong Word, which is now additionally out in mass market paperback, in addition to hardcover and trade paperback. And my new book, which comes out in September, is called All This Could Be Yours, about a debut author with a surprise best-selling novel who goes on a book tour only to discover that someone is out to ruin her tour, ruin her career, and destroy the family she left back home, all because of a Faustian bargain she made when she was a child. So that is all all this, I know my title, All This Could Be Yours, out in September. I'm talking fast because I want to get to today's book, Marguerite by the Lake by Mary Dixie Carter. It is gorgeous. It is evocative. Look at that cover. It's lovely. And the book is sort of a gilt-edged, rich, atmospheric Gothic that kind of reminded me of contemporary Rebecca, but we will let you hear about that from Mary Dixie Carter. Welcome to you and happy Pub Day for your book.
Thank you, Hank. I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you for having me. And yes, it's a glorious day. It's a big, exciting day. And having an event this evening and a little kick up my heels this evening afterwards to have a glass of champagne and toast the book.
It's interesting, isn't it, how long you work on a book like this, and then there's this tick, 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 tick build up to the pub day. The day before pub day, how were you feeling?
Well, nervous. I mean, definitely nervous. I just want the book to do well, and I want everyone to receive it well, and but also just super excited. And I'm so lucky to get to work with Minotaur Books, St. Martin's Publishing Group, and they're so wonderful and supportive and fabulous. And so just excited with a little bit of nerves kicking in once in a while.
Going to be a little bit of nerves kicking in once in a while, and we are all here to support you so fully. So many people are here. Shannon Hansen and Melanie Borelli is here. Katie Wassland is here. Kathy Lanigan, Deborah Press, Renee Herskowitz. So nice to see you on. Sylvia is here today. That's fantastic. And Betty Fellow says that's a great cover. And there's so much to talk about this cover, and we will talk about that more in a minute. If you are new to A Mighty Blaze, welcome, welcome, welcome. We are so thrilled that you are here today. Quickly, A Mighty Blaze was started 5 years ago at the beginning of the pandemic by the marvelous duo of Caroline Levitt and Jenna Blum to keep us talking about books and reading books and discovering new books. And that is why we are still going strong after 5 years. Sharon Bishop, hello, Sharon, says, hi, happiest of pub days to you. Patty Donahue, nice to see you again, says, wonderful to be back, and we are glad you are here as well. And I am here every Tuesday at 4 p.m. ET with Crime Time. Today I am hosting the fabulous Mary Dixie Carter. Let me tell you a little bit about her quickly. Her writing has appeared in Time, The Economist, San Francisco Chronicle, the Chicago Tribune, Philadelphia Inquirer, and more. She worked at The Observer for 5 years as the publishing director and has worked as a professional actor. We need to hear about this. Mary Dixie has an honors degree in English literature from Harvard College, and I have laryngitis, so forgive me, and holds an MFA in creative writing from the New School. She lives in Brooklyn with her husband and 2 children. I'm going to put myself on mute while you tell us about this book, and I'll cough softly.
Marguerite by the Lake. Well, thank you again, Hank, for having me. Marguerite by the Lake is about the death of a glamorous garden designer, the lonely widower who's left behind, who's trying to keep his secrets buried, and the beautiful young gardener who becomes entangled in their lives. That's kind of the premise, and the idea of, well, there's a few different ways the idea came to me. One is my mother had a lifelong friendship with an Italian artist And he painted her many, many times over the course of 50 years. And after my mother died, I returned to visit my stepfather to the home that he and my mother had shared. And when I walked into the house, each time I was aware of her very strong presence. And I think a lot of it had to do with those portraits that were hung prominently throughout the house. So in Marguerite by the Lake, there is a world famous portrait. It's hung on top of the fireplace. And Marguerite, even after her death, continues to wield power. She continues to be this very strong, dominating influence in all the other characters' lives. So my mother doesn't resemble Marguerite because Marguerite isn't always the nicest person, but there was something about my mother in the portraits that was like still this force to be reckoned with, even years after she had passed away. So that all of that I brought with me into writing this book.
Well, I want to talk a little bit more about the power of art in a minute, and the power of this particular painting. But how would you describe this book? What genre is it? What was in your mind as you're putting this book together?
You know, it has been described as a thriller. I would describe it as kind of as a gothic mystery suspense, and also a thriller too, but all of the above. It has a Rebecca vibe. There's this looming presence of the dead woman, and young Phoenix, the young gardener, is everywhere she turns. She encounters, just like in Rebecca, Rebecca's everywhere. Everyone's talking about Rebecca. She can't get away from Rebecca. So similarly in Marguerite by the Lake, young Phoenix can't get away from Marguerite much as she tries to.
And I love that Phoenix is a landscaper, a gardener, that she creates beauty, real life, realistic beauty, growing things. And she loves when things are beautiful and she takes care. And we really like her as the book opens. Why did you decide to make her a gardener? I was trying to think if I've ever read another novel that has a gardener like this as a main character.
Well, it kind of just happened. I didn't set out to, I didn't think ahead of time, I'm going to make her into a gardener.
Oh.
But it does work so well with so many things in the book. And once she was a gardener, it, like all these other things kept cropping up that that I didn't even realize were there, like all these metaphors about gardening. And since this whole book is about, Marguerite's presence, even after death, being very, this strong presence of someone who's passed away, and gardening, there's so much there in terms of like plants die and they're reborn, and trees die, and then the roots are like, and I also did tons of research about plants, because I'm not a gardener myself, though I love gardening, but I'm not much of a gardener. But I did all this research about learning about how plants can take care of each other, and the root system of one tree can help the root system of another tree, and also that a tree can die. I mean, a tree can be chopped down and it can still live a very long time. And so that stuck with me, that the tree is chopped down and it's sort of like Marguerite, but the tree's still there and it's like maybe in purgatory or something. And then too, there's my mother, going back to my mother again, my mother was obsessed with roses. And so the character of Marguerite I knew she was obsessed with roses, and it made sense to me that Phoenix and Marguerite shared this bond over roses and gardens. And it also made sense to me that Phoenix did something where she was really working outside all the time, and that the interior of the house was foreign to her, and kind of like she wasn't an expert when she walked inside the house. She was an expert outside the house with the gardens and the trees, and then when she walked inside the house, it was like she's out of her element. She doesn't know about crystal glasses. She doesn't know about the right china, or even, the right tablecloth, or any of that stuff. That Marguerite was a master over all of that too.
Yes, I mean, it's wonderful, fish out of water story. And I want to talk to you more about that in a minute too, but I don't want to leave behind the gardener metaphor throughout, because first of all, a marguerite is a flower, and which is a gorgeous undercurrent. And also that Phoenix, the sort of rising from the ashes of Marguerite, of herself. I won't go any farther, but the names are so perfectly chosen. Did you get goosebumps? How did their names emerge to you? And what do you think about the layers of them?
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad that you like the names. That pleases me so much. So Phoenix, I mean, it took me a really long time to get to Phoenix's name. Phoenix, the character of Phoenix, had so many different names before I landed on Phoenix, and they were placeholder names. I won't tell you what they all were, because I think it's a distraction. But like, I knew that I hadn't found it yet, and it was like I would try something for a couple of months, and it would be in all my drafts and everything, and it was just, no, it's not quite right. It's not quite right. And then Phoenix, I was like, oh, Phoenix, this is who she is. She rises from the ashes. She's, it also, the sound of the name, it's not too pretty, I guess, or it's just unusual, but it's not overly feminine, and it contrasts with the name Marguerite in a nice way. Like, they're very different. But yeah, I'm thrilled that you like the name, both names. And Marguerite, it's almost like I got the name before I even knew that much about the character. I just knew, I was like, her name is Marguerite. And I don't know why, it just felt so right to me. Like, her name is Marguerite. And then knowing her name was Marguerite actually informed a lot of other things about her. It was like, oh, all these other things were filling in because I knew her name was Marguerite. It's funny how you can go from the outside in or from the inside out. Both ways sometimes work.
I totally agree with you. And I love hearing you say this so much, because when you get the name right, the person just comes to life.
Yes.
How does that happen? I mean, Marguerite is elegant and exotic and curly-cued at the end, and sort of and pretty. It's very, very pretty and very feminine and beguiling, the name Marguerite. Also, we were talking about plants and the synchronicity of plants and how they work together. Someone told me once that they thought that plants were the smartest creations in the universe because plants have trained people to take care of them.
That's so interesting.
That's so funny, because
that's so true.
They couldn't exist without people. And so they figured out how, by being beautiful or bearing fruit or changing our lives, they figured out how to get humans to make them survive, to help them.
I love that. That's so true, and so smart too.
And so creepy too, right?
It is creepy.
I agree with you. If you look at it that way, it's creepy. But again, I think we agree that really it's kind of wonderful. I mean, that means that the world works in a certain way. Speaking of that, about trees and plants and Phoenix and Marguerite and the inciting incident of the book. The first chapter is so incredibly haunting because standardly in chapter 1 of a mystery thriller, something gets killed. And in this book, you hit the nail on the head about this so gorgeously and metaphorically. And since it's the first chapter, can you talk about that a little bit and the foreboding feeling that is, foreshadowing?
Well, yes. So in the first chapter, Marguerite is having a large party, a big garden party. She hosts these beautiful garden parties. She's a tastemaker. She's an influencer. And she and her husband, Jeffrey, there's a big tent set up in their garden. And she's invited the young woman, Phoenix, who's her landscaper, to attend the party. Phoenix notices that there's a tree that is like the tree's not in good shape. She told Marguerite this. She told her to be careful about this tree. Marguerite didn't pay attention. And now Phoenix sees the storm is coming. The tree, it's coming down. She can sense that it's about to happen. The tree falls, and Jeffrey Gray, Marguerite's husband, is standing right in the path of the tree. And Phoenix sees it happening, and she runs like full speed ahead and knocks him out of the way and saves him just by like a hair from being crushed by this 85-foot tree. So that saving his life kind of forges a bond between the two of them, between Jeffrey Gray, Marguerite's husband, and Phoenix Sullivan, the young gardener. And so in the first portion of the book, a romance starts up between the two of them, which Marguerite becomes aware of. You're not sure whether she knows. It seems like she might know, and Marguerite is none too happy about it. Shortly after that, and I can say this because it does happen early in the book, Marguerite dies in a somewhat mysterious way.
I mean, I think that's on the back cover. So you all,
yes.
Mary Dixie is not giving anything away. That's everything that we've talked about is on the back cover. We're just letting you know how the book is intense. You have this tree in the beginning, and I'm thinking, when we know that it's Chekhov's tree, that tree is going to fall and something is going to happen as a result of that, and it all just weaves together so gorgeously. I mean, your Phoenix. Let's go back a little bit, because when you were saying that she wasn't a gardener initially, that is actually shocking to me, because this book is wholly about gardening and wholly about Phoenix and gardening and nature and the power of nature in every way. What was she before? I mean, I keep thinking, how could she not be a gardener? It's just perfect.
Well, I mean, that might not be 100% accurate the way I said that. I wrote a few scenes between two women, and those were the first scenes I wrote. And that's something that interests me, and it keeps cropping up in everything I write. Power struggles between women. So the very first scene I wrote, the idea came to me actually because a friend of mine told me about an argument she had with a family member. And she was so angry that at midnight, she left her house and went outside, which is a dark and deserted road, and walked around this lakeside road for 2 hours in the middle of the night, because she could not bear to be inside her house for a minute longer. And I was like, wow, oh my goodness, how angry would I have to be to leave my house at midnight and walk on a dark and deserted road? Like, I can't envision how mad I'd have to be to do that. So the very first scene I wrote was between Phoenix walking on that road, and then I knew she left the house, like she couldn't bear to be there, but I wasn't even sure why she couldn't bear to be there. And then in the distance, there's someone approaching her, and she's not sure who it is, but she thinks it's Taylor. But this was like in the very, very, very first scene, so I hadn't even decided who was who. But it's this young woman that she cannot bear to be around, and so she thought she was by herself, but no, this Taylor is approaching, getting closer and closer and closer and closer. So that was the very first scene I wrote, and I knew Phoenix and Taylor, and they didn't even have these names at that point, but I knew they could not stand each other. And that was the relationship that actually was the first one I was exploring, Phoenix and Taylor. And then from that relationship, did I realize, oh, Marguerite is Taylor's mother. And then I thought about who's Marguerite and who are all these people, and I figured it out. Phoenix is their gardener. Marguerite is the garden designer, the very glamorous Martha Stewart type garden designer, and that's who all these people are. So it was early on, but that was like the order of events.
Don't you love you on when I look over here? I'm looking at the comments. Julie Brinkley is here. That's so great. And Robin Stahl and Randy is here. Kathy Lanigan. So many of you here. Katie Crutchfield is here. Sherry Steuben. No spoilers. We know we are not doing spoilers. That's why I said that we just told you what was in the front. I love hearing, and I hope you all do too, the process by which authors like Mary Dixie come up with these stories, because it's not all laid out in the beginning for them and they just type up this story. It's an evolution of who people are and what they want and how far they'll go to get that thing, and their personalities evolve. I mean, your book is a series of triangles, isn't it? I mean, it's the triangle of Marguerite and Jeffrey and Phoenix, and then Phoenix and Taylor and Jeffrey, and Taylor and Marguerite and Jeffrey, all throughout, changing angles and changing position. Do you think about that as you write, or is that just how it turned out?
Once the triangles were there, then I realized they were there. And then I was like, kind of worked with those triangles to, I guess, raise the stakes, increase the tension, ratchet it up as much as I could. And I don't think I necessarily thought ahead to making a triangle, but they did sort of land there. And then there's a lot there's a lot of instability with a triangle. It's like, who's going to go in which direction? Who's going to win? Who's going to side with who?
Right, because once you pick sides, then somebody is always left out.
Right.
And that is just so elegantly portrayed in this book. And we see Phoenix being drawn into the life of the Greys, of Jeffrey Gray, and she's really a fish out of water, as you were saying. In this house, she doesn't know the crystal, she doesn't know the china, she doesn't know how an affluent person lives, but she's also kind of taking over someone's life and position. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that was to write and how that was for her?
So I see Phoenix as entering into this situation where she doesn't feel comfortable. She doesn't feel like she knows her way around, but she desperately wants to. She wants to be an insider as opposed to an outsider. And that's a theme that I'm just sort of obsessed with, the insider versus the outsider. So Phoenix feels like an outsider for a lot of different reasons, and she brings that with her kind of wherever she goes. And then once she's inside the house, she feels like she must claim it in a certain way, in some ways very inappropriately so, but she is trying to like stand her ground because she has a feeling that she still thinks of herself as an outsider. And sometimes those are the people who have to claim even more and grab even more, the ones who consider themselves outsiders because they're so lacking in confidence, I guess.
The people who strive to be accepted.
Yes.
And she's striving to be accepted in this world that she knows she doesn't really belong in, but she wishes. And you all are understanding we're talking about Marguerite by the Lake, about a gorgeous, glamorous, sort of Martha Stewart-esque person who gets killed very early on. It's on the back. It's not as bad. How the gardener, Phoenix, takes her place, essentially, but can't. And I loved what you were talking about earlier. And let's go back to this quickly, because one more thing about that, sort of the power of art and the presence of a person captured in a painting and how powerful that can be. I loved what you were saying about seeing the paintings of your mother. How did you translate that into this? And what do you think about visual art like that as a power in our lives? So, thought of something too. Let me just say this really quickly. The beauty of the natural beauty of outside versus the artificial beauty of a painting. So that I just thought of that. Forgive me for interrupting you. Now I'll finally let you talk.
That's really true. The natural beauty versus the roses and versus the painting. And the painting is of the outside. The painting of Marguerite is the exact view that they have there at this gorgeous estate. And, you know, which is better? I don't know. Which is better, the beautiful work of art or the real thing? So I was around those portraits of my mother for many, many years. Some of them from when I was a child, and then some of them later. But then something changed, you know, once my mother had passed away, and I would go into a room with her portrait there. It was like comforting, I don't know, in a certain way, comforting. And then, you know, I could take that in a different direction in terms of the book, but it was like she was still there and she was still in the house. And in the case of my mother's house, this is also similar to Marguerite. She had really put like her heart and soul into so many details of the house. And like the fabric on this particular chair and this silver platter and this crystal object, and all these things mattered to my mother a great deal. So when I would walk around the house, which was, you know, my stepfather's house, once my mother was gone, I would walk around the house, but all these things that I remember her buying and I remember her thinking about so much, and like, should I do this or should I do that? Should I have this fabric or that fabric? It was so strongly imprinted. Her essence was so heavily imprinted on the house. And that, I think, was a huge source of inspiration. This feeling that you couldn't get rid of my mother from that house. My mother was like, you know, there's no way to eliminate my mother from that house. She was so much there. And that is the feeling that I had with Marguerite. And I do think like images are really powerful, and images carry a lot in them. And I mean, I don't even know how to articulate it exactly, but in my first book, The Photographer, there was also a whole thing about images. So I think that I spend a lot of time with my mind. I'm not a visual artist per se, though I enjoy, drawing or just for fun. But images, I think, make such a big impression on us. And for a lot of people, it's hard to draw a line between like what's real and what's an image. And those things get, mixed up a lot.
I mean, I love that, because definitely a theme in your novels is that things aren't necessarily what they seem on the face of it. And also in this particular book, and we're talking about Marguerite by the Lake, and I forgot to tell you, did I, that we're doing a giveaway of this book. You're not getting this book because I'm keeping this, but but Mary Dixie will give away a copy of this book to one lucky commenter. So leave a question or a comment in the chat. You have about 2 more minutes to do that until we spin the wheel of fun, but I know you all are here. Kathy Lanigan is here, and Sherry Steuben. I know somebody was saying, Sherry was saying, you're selling that these aren't spoilers. I promise you, they're not spoilers. The book is this is just the domino that starts the thing. The other thing that's interesting too is that one of many things is that nature evolves and changes. It's different every day, but that painting stays the same.
Yeah. That's really true. That painting stays the same. And in the book, Taylor, Marguerite's daughter, is a dead ringer for Marguerite. She's 25 years younger, but looks identical to Marguerite. And so one thing that happens is the portrait of Marguerite that hangs over the fireplace, Phoenix does say in there that it's all it kind of is timeless. You can't tell if it's the mature Marguerite or the young 20-something Marguerite. But also Taylor, the daughter, Marguerite's daughter, is also that a dead ringer in that portrait. So it's frozen, but then it's kind of a new frozen. It's frozen on something different, which Taylor tries to, well, I don't want to spoil this.
Exactly. Denise Angarado says that's kind of creepy. It is, and you have it totally, Denise. This is haunting and atmospheric and gorgeous. It is a murder mystery, you all. So we have not given anything away, and it will linger in your mind afterwards. My last question for you is, how did you feel at the end of the book when you were finished? And how do you hope readers will feel at the end?
When I was finished, I felt like, yes, that's it. Because I rewrote the ending several times, and I kept playing around with it, and I wanted something that would be very satisfying and have a huge punch. So I hope that I achieved that. But I did, when I finally got to the ending, I was like, yes, that is it. I think it's a disturbing book in some ways, and haunting, I hope, maybe. But I hope it makes readers kind of excited, and their imaginations go and think a lot about who's dead, who's not dead, what's the line between life and death.
Exactly. It's just like nature. It's all nature. And I have to say, I'll sneak one more question or one more thought in, is that Mary Dixie, this is beautifully written. It's beautifully, lyrically, wonderfully, gorgeously written. And your whole rhythm and your whole pace, every word is perfectly chosen. And the music of it is really lovely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Not to mention that it's so tense throughout. At every page there's foreboding. When did you decide you wanted to be a writer, and when did you know you were this talented?
Oh, you're so kind. Thank you. Coming from you, that means so much to me. I started off as an actress, but from childhood, I read a lot, and I was always writing something, even when I didn't think of it as my career per se. I was always writing something. I was an English major in college. So I started off as an actress, and I was in a lot of plays. Eventually, I became a journalist, and I loved that too. But I think this sort of like marries all these different things I'm interested in and brings it all together, because what I learned and what I know from acting is thinking about characters, thinking about like what motivates characters, what they want, what they need. And that goes into writing a novel very much so. What I learned from journalism is trying to be concise, trying to get to the point. That helps writing a novel a lot too. So it, took me a while to end up as a novelist, but I learned a lot along the way.
Well, it definitely shows. This is a triumph in every way. And we are so thrilled that you are sharing your pub day with us, and so thrilled that all of you get to hear about Marguerite by the Lake. We have not even told you a fraction of this book for you all to read it. Let's see if we have some questions from the audience. Did the area where you grew up have any impact on the setting or characters? Good question, Julie.
Very good question. So my family and I spend a lot of time in Connecticut near a lake called Lake Warramug. And that lake inspired the Lake Spiro in Marguerite by the Lake. Though I can't say that lake is not a spiral like the one in Marguerite by the Lake, nor does it have the same kind of cliff that I was describing in Marguerite by the Lake. But it does have a dark road. So I think that, my imagination when going on walks around that lake or near that lake. And then also there's another thing which is there in the book. There's a house that was moved across the frozen lake. It's something that happened in the past, but I referenced this house that was like rolled across the frozen lake. And that actually is true of a house at Lake Warramug. There was a house that was on one side of the lake, and many, many years ago, someone decided to move it to the other side of the lake. So that seems so interesting and perfect. I had to put it in the book.
That is bizarre.
Isn't it bizarre?
Over there. I love that. That's fantastic. Sylvia says, hey, Sylvia, welcome. After researching for this work, were there any specific plants or trees added to your home landscape? Do you have a green thumb?
Oh, that's a fabulous question. So I don't have a green thumb. I mean, I love it, though. I love flowers, and I love gardening, and I love arranging flowers. And it's still like what I can say about the plants and trees being added. It's still something I plan to do, but haven't done it yet. But I have a lot of big plans for our garden that I haven't been able to execute quite yet.
Well, you can do that after you sell Marguerite by the Lake to everybody in the universe, because it is completely gorgeous and absolutely irresistible. And, by the lake would be a really good place to read it, I think. So, Mary said, Robin says, what is your favorite treasure on the bookcase behind you? Ooh.
Oh, that's a sweet, let's see. This is a picture of me and my daughter when she was just a few months old. So this might be the favorite treasure.
That's okay. She's watching you. How old is she now?
She's almost 15.
Oh,
she's a big girl now.
Great. That's fantastic. One last question. Book tour for Marguerite, says Andrew Ball. It would be nice to have you back at Book Soup.
I would love to go back to Book Soup. That would be fabulous.
So yes. Are you going on tour at all?
I am, yes. I'm going to, I think I posted it on Instagram, but there's a few more that I haven't included that are still to be nailed down, but I am going to be in Houston, Texas. I'm going to be in Scottsdale, Arizona. I've an event tonight in New York. I've one next week in New York, and then I'm going to be at Thriller Fest.
Right.
And then also, in Atlanta, I'm going to be in Atlanta. So some of those are not, I haven't posted yet, but I will be posting them soon.
And tell us your Instagram so we can find you.
It's Mary Dixie Carter, at Mary Dixie Carter, MaryDixieCarter. Just
fantastic.
one.
And I will see you at Thriller Fest. So we'll need to make
excellent.
Some time together. Your questions have been marvelous. And Mary Dixie, you are fantastic. Let's spin the wheel of fun to see who's going to win Marguerite by the Lake. Sherry says, I hope the ice was thick. Yeah, that would be a problem. That would definitely be a problem. I have never heard of somebody moving a house across the ice.
It's crazy. Isn't that crazy?
I'd love to have seen it. What year? How long ago was
I think it was like, 100 years ago or something. I think it was a really long time ago.
Oh, fantastic. And we are congratulating Lori Hernandez, who has won Marguerite by the Lake. Lucky, lucky Lori, you know what to do. You'll get some info about where to email me, and I will send your info to Mary Dixie's people, and they will send you your novel. If you are not Lori Hernandez, you know what to do. Run, click, and go get your very own copy of Marguerite by the Lake. Sherry, when you read it, Sherry Reebok, when you read it, you'll know that there was not a spoiler, not at all. And you email me and let me know, and you tell us that Mary Dixie and I were right, that it wasn't a spoiler.
It's not.
We will hear from you. Lori Hernandez says, me. Yes, indeed.
Yay.
About that. Congratulations. And thank you all for coming today. It's been so marvelous to see you. Mary Dixie, congratulations on, you know what? Let me tell you something very, very quickly. I should tell you that next week at 4 p.m. ET, we are hosting Brendan Slocum, the marvelous, fabulous Brendan Slocum, whose third novel, Dark Maestro, is going to be out next week. It's terrific. It's about, now you have never heard this before. It is about a cellist in witness protection. Think about all of that and think about how that would go. And Brendan Slocum is wonderful. And speaking of wonderful, here is Mary Dixie Carter, and her brand new comes out today. Pub Day, happy Pub Day to Mary Dixie Carter for Marguerite by the Lake. Thank
you, Hank. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. This was such a pleasure.
It was for me too. Thank you.
It was so wonderful. You're so gracious and generous. Thank you.
Oh, that's so kind of you. Thank you. Well, I hope you'll come back with your next book.
Of course, yes.
Travel. Much love, much joy. Congratulations. And as for you all, thank you so much for being here today. We will see you on the next Crime Time next Tuesday at 4 p.m. ET. And remember, until then, it is always safe inside a book. See you next time.